All right. Good morning, everyone, or late morning. My name is Guillaume. I'm joined by Evelyn, Marijke, and Jerome to talk about the future of the metaverse. So it's a topic I'm really passionate about because I used to play a lot of video games. When I say a lot, when I was younger, I passed hours and hours playing video games. And for me, the video games, they were already a metaverse. I've played a lot of time World of Warcraft, so it was the World of Warcraft metaverse. Then I passed a lot of time in RuneScape and many other games. So for me, the metaverse was already something that existed. And yesterday, I had a barbecue with my brother, who used to play games with me, and I told to him about this panel, and he was like, dude, what the fuck is the metaverse? And what's the difference between what we've been doing for years and what's going on now? And I think it's actually a pretty good question because I joined crypto in 2015, and I absolutely loved the technology. And then in 2017, we hear about tokens, NFTs, blockchain being implemented in games like Decentraland, so in a metaverse. And I was absolutely sold on it. I love the concept. I believe and still believe it's the future. And I invested in them. And then all of a sudden, Facebook announces they're rebranding to Meta, and they talk about the metaverse. And then it becomes a big hype word. Everybody talks about it. Everybody hears about it. But what does it actually mean? And we're going to try to clarify that a bit during this panel. So I would like to start by asking each of you, what does the term metaverse mean for you?
Yeah, I think you touched on it a little bit already. I think everything at this point is being called a metaverse. I think anything that touches on virtual worlds or digital spaces can be called a metaverse. I think we're very much in a hype in that sense. For me, a metaverse or the metaverse is nothing more than just the next iteration of the internet. It's how we're gonna just interact with online. And our online presence, how it will be organized, and that entails not only 3D, AR, VR, all these technologies that that have been evolving over the course of the past couple of decades. The difference with what metaverse is at this point, I think, is this concept of Web3 and the digital economy that it allows for. So that, to me, is the big difference between the metaverse that you just referred to, the games you played, and the metaverse that we are evolving into. But it's a continuous process. It's probably something that's never going to be finished. It's just something that will always be evolving.
Okay, cool. What about you, Evelyn?
Well, it's a very confusing topic, and it's a bit annoying because everyone's calling everything a metaverse. But we don't really know what metaverse is. We haven't really shaped it. I agree with you that it's like virtual spaces, the next iteration of internet. However, there is AR and VR companies that are talking about the metaverse, AI companies that are talking about the metaverse. I think maybe they're all connected. But I think metaverse is a second chance for us to define how our interaction with the online spaces really look like, and understand from how significant it will be, especially in a later stage when we enter IoT, which I am a big believer in. So how we interact, our screen time, for example, how much time we're spending online today, and how we're interacting with these online spaces will be more immersive. We will be spending more time potentially, at least for a certain amount of time, for certain periods online in these spaces. However, I think that as natural beings, we will be sort of doing a 360, coming again to the physical world and really adapting IoT. And I think what that lifestyle and environment looks like, what we are building, what that society looks like, depends on the decisions we take today in terms of what metaverse is and how we want to build it.
I have a headset.
That's easier.
Which is the first step towards the metaverse. You need some hardware. Yeah, so definitely a big hype around the word metaverse. I don't know what's the best way to raise money right now. Maybe metaverse as a service. Hey, anybody interested?
Yes.
Hey, metaverse. Metaverse reliability protocol. Like, make sure your metaverse is reliable and online. Trying to come up with a concise definition. I would try to say it's an immersive digital social experience. Yeah. Anything that's the digital immersive social experience can be claimed as a metaverse.
Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, I was gonna say when you listen to all those different definitions, it's still hard to really put one definition on it. But it's clearly something with evolution of technology, a digital space where we have a digital identity, digital assets, mostly built, most probably built using blockchain technology. But maybe you could also give us a little example of a unique and unforgettable experience that you had in or the metaverse, or maybe if you didn't have it yourself, maybe you saw something that you said like, wow, this is really the future and this is completely epic.
I think that's still a really hard question because I haven't really come across anything that I think will be epic. What I am really enjoying to do right now is meditating with a VR headset on. I think that is really that really changes the game for me. I think we're so encompassed, you know, especially within Belgium, you know, in buildings and concrete, and just putting on these goggles allows you to just escape to a forest or, you know, seeing the ocean horizon. For about 10 minutes, even with, you know, without leaving your office. So I think those types of immersive experiences would really benefit us as humans. How that would entail with like Web3 economies and content, I think we'll let the markets decide on that. But I'm sure we're heading in that direction. So I'm really looking forward to those types of evolutions.
Okay, cool. Never tried to meditate with a headset on, but VR. I will. Right? What about you, Evelyn?
I just tweeted about this recently. I said that fashion has not entered the metaverse, regardless of all the activations and test and learn approach that different companies are taking. And that's because working in the physical fashion industry, going to the fashion shows and fashion weeks, there is this energy and the atmosphere that I don't think that we have captured yet in the metaverse. And it is still an unproven concept, so I agree with you. So, I mean, Digital Village, we want to be that. We want to be that epic place. And maybe we will be that on the 28th of June. But it's yet to come.
Well, glad you bring the topic of fashion to the panel, because like Mark Zuckerberg has tweeted that he is wearing a Balenciaga tracksuit in his metaverse. So yeah, it's pretty cool. That was my most immersive experience in metaverse. I got to try Horizon World, the thing Meta is working on. So I'm not a big Facebook or Meta or Instagram user, not because I don't like the product, but it's just taking too much battery out of the smartphone. So had to make choices. You know, you have to cut some applications to be able to check CoinMarketCap. But yeah, it was super immersive. Like you wear this Oculus Rift, and you're like, yeah, lots of hardware for sure, but you are having a meeting with different people having avatars, and if you're raising your eyebrows, like the person is seeing me raise their eyebrows. So I'm like, well, we have a social interaction, like simple stuff that you can just represent on the face and interpret from the hardware. It gives you an immersive experience. This person is raising his hand, or is explaining that the numbers are going up, or the numbers are going down. Yeah, well, it's having a different kind of meeting this way. It was really like I could have a glimpse of the future on that, even if like the texture wasn't that good. Everything looks fake, but it was fake but immersive because the person in front of me was an avatar that was speaking and having facial expression. So, yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Do you know that actually, first of all, I don't know why the industry is freaking out because Mark Zuckerberg is wearing Balenciaga. I think obviously it makes a lot of sense. He's building Horizon and Meta. It's all about self-expression. And he's landing the deal. So if we want to do something better with textures and immersion, I mean, we need to do it, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
that's not the first activation of Mark Zuckerberg. He actually did a collection with H&M. Does anyone remember that? He had literally like 3 navy T-shirts and 3 gray shorts. You remember Mark Zuckerberg's look. They made fun of him because people were like, you never change your clothes. And he made a collaboration, a ton of money with H&M about that. So yeah, it's not his first fashion phenomenon.
All right, great. It's a good way to introduce the next topic. So I think it's safe to say that there is nothing like the metaverse, but more different metaverses being built by different communities, different actors. I like the concept of, I read it online, they start talking now about the multiverse of metaverses. So basically it's a multiverse connecting all the different metaverses. And how do you connect the different metaverses? Well, basically, if you have the assets on the blockchain, you could reuse one asset from one metaverse in another metaverse. And that's, I think, in the beginning and still now what a lot of people in the blockchain metaverse space were really excited about. And then Meta arrived, and the immediate reaction of the people from the blockchain metaverse communities were like, Meta is here, they're here with a completely closed metaverse. So when I say closed metaverse, I mean that it's centralized or that it's private, so that they can they own a database where they could delete your account, where if you have a certain asset, they could remove it from you. And that's something people were afraid of. And on the other side, people were trying to build an open metaverse, so something decentralized and something public, where everybody could do whatever they want, own their assets on the blockchain, and so they could not take it away from them. So a lot of people talked about Meta coming in, and I would like to hear what you think. How important is the concept of building an open versus a closed metaverse? But you can twist it around the database. You can talk about the fact that people can participate in the decision-making through a DAO for the future of that metaverse, but you could also talk about the permissions that people have, because when you build an open metaverse like the Decentraland or Sandbox have been trying to do, it's still hard to say that everybody can do whatever they want. Because being open, normally everybody should be able to do anything, but there are some things that they want to prevent people from doing. So yeah, talk a bit about closed versus open and what you think about it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that now that Facebook has claimed this meta thing, that everybody is talking about it, because actually I think in 2003 or 4, I mean, we're all familiar with Second Life, I think, this concept of virtual worlds, 3D, these virtual worlds where we have an avatar and we're working, we're playing, we're building. These concepts are not new, right? They've been around for a while. What's new now is this blockchain technology, which permits for an interoperable virtual world, one that's built on open source and one that's decentralized. And that's really a game changer, because actually already, I think also in 2003, PlayStation had this world called Home, and it was basically the same as what Meta is building right now with Horizons. So it was around, but they closed it down because it didn't make enough money, right? That's what they needed to do. They needed to make money, whereas Second Life is still around because that's built from the bottom up. It's grassroots, right? It's people are actually having a stake in these worlds. They care for them being built in. And that's what blockchain allows us to do. It allows us to have a stake in these platforms and where we really care about them being worlds that we want to live in, that we want to thrive in. And I think that's where this time around, metaverse, or whatever we want to call it, is going to be different.
Right, Jerome?
Well, open or closed.
You really like the Facebook experience, huh?
No, I mean it's we can come back to how we try to shape what we talk about when we talk about metaverses, because Facebook having Meta and Horizon World and so on, it's an application, a tryout at the metaverse. Like I don't have any Meta shares, so like I'm not trying to save them from any bad press that they have right now. But it's their take at creating a digital immersive experience. If we maybe think about 10 years from now, the technology for interacting with internet is going to drastically evolve. We already have our screen, our smartphone in our hand, maybe 80% of the time when we are awake, or otherwise we are in front of the computer. I don't think the experience of playing things like Second Life or even Sandbox is really super great in terms of gameplay and stuff. But if I can be in an immersive experience that's total, and I can move myself around, I can shoot at stuff, I can beat up stuff, and interact with stuff, having a meeting, like, oh, I'm back from my mission and we are having a meeting now, I'm probably going to enjoy this. So I can definitely see a world where in like 10 years, we are going to buy the iPhone 25 or the Samsung S100, and you get a headset at the same time. You just plug the headset to your phone, and you're like, yeah, I'm consuming internet like this now. So if I'm going to this old Brussels Blockchain Week from 2022 website, I'm just tapping in like, hey, Siri, open this website for me, and the website is open for me, and I'm perusing the website. What a bad experience. I have to lift my hand to slide the pages. But if the Brussels Blockchain Week in 2020, in 2029 or in 2030 is now having its own website inside the metaverse, and it's a shorter experience, like I'm actually going to the event and seeing people on the stage. Like, okay, that's a more immersive experience. It's not going to be built in HTML5, probably, but it's going to be built with any type of open language to create your own place in the metaverse, just like you would create a website. And probably you'll be in a place where it's too expensive or too complicated to build it yourself. So you're going to go to Sandbox or go to Meta and say like, hey, I'm opening my Brussels Blockchain Week land. We've rented this place for a week. It's in the middle of the Times Square of Horizon World, and we are having the event there. In this case, you'll be probably pissed that you have to pay a little bit of bucks to Zuckerberg, but it's there, and the thing is there for you to use. Now on the open side, like what are you going to wear at this event? Am I allowed to wear a t-shirt with an NFT called CryptoPick? Maybe not. Maybe it's offensive. Am I able to wear a fake Balenciaga trouser? Maybe not. Maybe Balenciaga is enforcing with Meta that you cannot wear fake NFTs. And maybe I will just be able to wear those on a non-regulated or a loosely enforced rules of the metaverse where I can wear any type of NFTs. And the two will live together. Like you have websites that are social network websites that are heavily moderated, and you also have 4chan. That's great. People like to use their own pseudonymous account and shitpost on 4chan, where they like also to be politically correct and be on Twitter. Like the two are going to live together, but the very basic layer is still going to be blockchain for the provable ownership of the accounts.
I think we are getting ahead of ourselves. I'm sorry to ruin the party here, but how many of you actually have been in the metaverse? Can you just raise your hand? Exactly. So why are we even talking about open or closed? I mean, it's mainly about interoperability, but there is no one in if you go to Decentraland right now. I don't know if you work with, excuse me. But
no,
there, I mean, I wanted to go, I was lecturing for MIT, and it took me 4 hours to get into my space where I was presenting. It was a nightmare. I almost cried. There is a hardware issue. There is a lot of things that we actually need to tackle first. So I think we're getting ahead of ourselves here. I think the question is not
that's already a dazzling.
And blockchain, as it is today, it's not scalable. We minted like 50 land parcels the other day, and we waited for like 15 hours. Imagine everyone adapting blockchain, you know? Yes, I know Vitalik is working for something new and it's coming, sure. But we're not there yet. We need to first really sustainably and consciously build this, like the base, the roots of how you're all going to be in there. And once actually you have so many communities and a lot of people in the metaverses, then obviously open metaverse is the answer.
How long did you wait for the lens?
15 hours we waited for it to mint.
Yeah,
And our CPO is here today, and he didn't have fun waiting for 15 hours. 50 land parcels,
yeah,
right. Believe it.
But so
it's sometimes super hard to get an appointment at the notary to sign the register. At least you can wait those 15 hours from the comfort of your couch.
yeah, I think we're clearly not there. I mean, I have a gallery on the Decentraland. I have built a game on Sandbox, and it's clearly not what you want it to be in the future. But yeah, I mean, we hopefully will get there. And I think the concept of open versus closed metaverse is indeed a bit weird to talk about, especially because both will probably exist. But it reminds me the beginning of crypto and blockchain, you know. I remember back in 2017, everybody was talking about creating these private blockchains. And then you had the people about, no, it needs to be a public blockchain. Yeah, we'll see. In my opinion, I mean, private blockchains never made any sense. I mean, you could just replace it with a centralized database. And I think it's a bit the same in some metaverses that are being built, that it needs to be open and that everyone can participate. But okay.
That is the multiverse concept, basically, to try to tackle interoperability. I mean, interoperability is basically having a sandbox team of engineers, and our engineers work together to find that interoperability. It's just a matter of time and resource. It's not impossible, but the point is, does it make sense for our clients that we are hosting on Digital Village? No, currently it doesn't, but maybe in the future.
Yeah, totally. Another question I wanted to ask is, we see AR and VR being linked a lot to metaverses. We have seen the videos, the movies like Ready Player One. We've seen the meta announcement back in the days with people being projected in the metaverse. Do you think that VR and AR are automatically linked to the metaverses, or can we see an evolution of the metaverses without AR or VR? Yeah, Marijke?
Yeah, I think we can. I think AR, VR is just an interface that we can use to connect to the internet. I think it's going to be really exciting to have that available. But I think it's just again, whatever the evolution of technology is leading us towards. I think whenever we have the option to use fancier tech, we'll do it. But I don't think it's really necessary to interact with a metaverse or the metaverse. I think again, that blockchain layer, that digital economy is a much more essential element of what I think the metaverse will be. But yeah, AR, VR is definitely going to be a really exciting element that will allow for very immersive experiences, and that will allow for interfaces that are more intuitive than the ones we use now, right? It's going to just be easier to learn how to interact with online and with an online presence. So
I think it's really up to the experience. I think AR and VR are really relevant, both of them for an AI as well, for the metaverse. And it depends on the experience that we experience in the metaverse. That we talk about curating the tech tools. So if you have a particular type of experience, maybe AR is not as good option as VR. So it really depends on what you're doing and what you're buying. And I definitely think I agree with you, and I think that those are really interesting add-ons, if you will.
Yeah, AR and VR is a good take at trying to get people to use the thing. It's like, wow, it's immersive, and it's 3D. You can interpret the physics and move around. It's trying to. I think it's trying to hide the fact that the controller is really difficult. Like you have a gamepad and you're clicking on stuff to move around. It's not that good. Or you are in sandbox and you're moving like this with your keyboard and then switching to your mouse. It's not that good. You are on your smartphone moving like this. It's not that good either. So AR and VR is getting us a bit closer to the virtual world we are moving in. It's not that good yet, indeed. That's one of the challenges we need to tackle if we want to make it more immersive. But there's so many things that we're working on this front, and at some point people are just going probably to be okay with just having two pads there and be like this, I think. But it's a good take. AR and VR give you a great opportunity to travel without moving.
Okay, really looking forward to see how it's going to evolve, especially after hearing that you meditate in VR. It's gonna
That's super inspiring. I will try that.
Yeah, same. Then, we talked about metaverse actually being not far yet, but I'm still wondering when it comes to adoption, do we have big brands today that are adopting it and that are doing something in it? Maybe someone could tell us about a big brand or brands that are looking forward to do something in the or a metaverse. Evelyn, maybe?
Absolutely. I mean, they're coming, they're making their long-term strategies and short-term activations, and definitely it's happening. It's for real. But in terms of what they're doing in the metaverse, it really varies. I think some of the brands have a really healthy approach to it. They want to first introduce their brands to these new demographics, if you will, and they want to really create their own digital identity, whether it's a digital version of their physical identity or a completely new brand as part of their larger group. Or if they want to drop NFTs and do all that stuff. So there are different strategies, but we are working through it, and with different kinds of strategies. And I also think that media brands are now starting to really take the metaverse seriously, and with it really interesting business models and strategies. I think something that brands are not necessarily far with today is sustainability, how they can utilize these tools and experiences, reduce their physical environmental footprint, adapt these digital business models as part of their physical business models and revenue streams. So I think once we get there, we will really start seeing how impactful these tools can actually be, and how we can, maybe make up is not the right word to make up for some things, but I think that perhaps our consumption habits and lifestyle will look very different, and how we interact with these brands in general will look very different in the future. I'm very excited about that.
Okay, cool. Marijke, you also want to say something?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it all depends on how we define metaverse at this point, right? There's been something like Digital Fashion Week, I think it was called, in Decentraland. So that's a take on it. But I mean, if we say NFTs or blockchain are the fundamental building blocks of these new worlds, then it is primordial for these brands to actually enter Web3, right? So that could mean, like Evelyn said, to drop an NFT collection, or to connect their brand to an existing NFT community, any of those things. I think adoption is going to be a really big thing for brands. I mean, that's what we at Venly are big on, and that's what we have a lot of conversations about, is that these brands are really enthusiastic and they really want to start exploring. They're just afraid that, you know, my audience is not going to have a MetaMask. Like, how are we ever going to interact with them through NFTs and all these things? So adoption is a pretty big theme, and so in that sense, we built an app for Shopify, for example, which means that Shopify allows its merchants to actually create NFTs and sell them within the platform that they already have and own within that storefront. And it allows for them to actually email an NFT to the buyers that would then create a crypto wallet for them, instead of them having to go through that whole MetaMask experience up front and all those very complicated things that are prohibiting a lot of people from entering Web3 at this point. So I think that is a problem that we need to solve first. I think that's sort of the theme of this conversation, right? We're not there yet. There's just a lot of stuff that still needs to be built, and we're all wrapped up in the hype at this point and all the promises, and I think at some point we'll get there, but it's a long ways away. And I think this sort of bear market that we're facing right now is a good time for the builders to get to work, and for the sort of hype to die down, and evolve into an exciting new space.
God, can dev do something, please? Like the experience to install a wallet is too bad. Yeah. That's right. It's a complete hassling. Like, hey, you install that, you pitch this, and you remember those 12 words. Like, you're screwed if you lose those. Like,
I'll pitch you the Venly wallet in a second.
Yeah, that's right. But you know, in the 90s, when you wanted to have your own email, you had to install your email server. Who does that? Like, nobody. Like, literally nobody, because everybody uses Gmail now, or even eventually Proton Mail. So like, and the wallet solution so far has been pushed so much, like, by good companies like Ledger, to say, like, hey, you should own your crypto, you should own your thing, because we don't want to be custodial. The switch to being custodial is really straightforward. Like, hey, it's your Google account. Yeah, that's how you handle the keys. And now you remove completely this hassling. Like, there's no problem. You have your Google account. You have your wallet. And
all right.
The switch is really easy.
We're unfortunately already out of time, but I just want to end up with a super quick question. What is the project, the metaverse project, you're looking the most forward to, that you've seen, but that is not your own project? So.
Horizon World.
Okay, nice.
What?
Yeah. Well, we need an enemy to fight for.
Me too,
right?
actually. I want to see what it really looks like, and how much they are going to push boundaries in abusing our data and security.
Oh, to the max,
yeah.
for sure.
And I mean, when you're doing meditation, they're gonna track your. Oh my God!
So,
yeah.
Evelyn,
So
what's yours?
I would say Horizon too. I just want to do. I want to see what they do, and I want to do it differently. So.
For different reasons.
Yeah, for different reasons.
Yeah. For me, it's a thing. It's a DAO. It's called High Vibe Network. It's a sort of blockchain-based ecosystem that wants to connect or integrate immersive experiences, personal development, and multidimensional learning. So these things, like, they want to elevate human experience. Use those things as VR facilitated meditation to actually help humankind move forward. So I'm really excited about that one.
All right, thank you all, and
Thank
thank
you.
you all for tuning in.
Thank you.